New York Congressman George Santos is right now in custody, expected to face a judge later today.
Federal prosecutors filed charges in the Eastern District of New York. They include fraud, money laundering, theft of public funds, and making false statements. Santos is at the center of several federal investigations regarding his finances. He's also faced heavy criticism for lying about his resume leading up to his election. Well, we are lucky to be joined by CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane here in Studio 57 to discuss. So, Scott, how big of a deal is this? What are the charges that Santos is facing?
There is nothing common about what's happening with George Santos. And by the way, Congress came to New York today, so I'm here because George Santos appears in the federal courthouse in Central Islip, Long Island, this afternoon as the afternoon begins. There are 13 federal counts. They include wire fraud, which is kind of the boilerplate federal charge that you engaged in a scheme to defraud and you used the internet or the phone to do so. You used wires. It's a boilerplate charge, but it is a significant charge. What the feds are alleging here is that this congressman fleeced his donors and fleeced taxpayers using donor money to enrich his own personal shopping and his own personal life, and took tax money he wasn't entitled to by accepting or seeking unemployment benefits, federally subsidized through taxpayer money, even though he was employed and earning an income. So these are significant charges no matter who you are, but it's not lost on anybody. This is a sitting Republican member of Congress in a narrow Republican majority in the House,
who has faced so many questions from journalists during his short time in office. It's almost as if now the law is catching up with him. What you've just laid out is serious, but break down for us all of the charges that he's now facing.
So you have a whole different set of charges. They allege different things at different times. There's really three different banks of allegations. One is what he did with his campaign money and his campaign finance disclosure forms. When you run for federal office, there are paperwork piles you have to get to and fill out. And the feds are alleging that he wasn't being honest or accurate with his campaign filings. There's also allegations about what he did with unemployment money. Again, that's taxpayer-funded subsidies for the unemployed. The feds are alleging that he was employed and taking the unemployment money. Then there are allegations from Nassau County, from the U.S. attorney. There's a lot of different parties to this. We know he's being processed and prosecuted by the feds, but that doesn't preclude the possibility of more coming at the local level or more federal charges later.
So, Scott, tell us about the potential consequences that he may be facing and the potential consequences for the Republican Party. As you mentioned, every seat right now in Congress matters.
Yeah, every vote matters. Let's deal with the short-term consequences to George Santos. He is now going to be an indicted sitting U.S. congressman. There is no expectation, as this afternoon began, that the Justice Department would seek to hold him in custody pre-trial. It's not a violent crime he's accused of, and there are a whole set of thresholds the feds have to reach to argue somebody should be held. It would also be a really provocative thing to ask for a sitting member of the legislative branch to be held in jail. Put that aside. He faces the prospect, of course, of a federal fine and prison time because these are federal charges. But the political reality is his vote is still needed by his party, and the House Speaker has said that he wants to see how this case concludes. Is there a guilty plea or a conviction? Well, in the federal system, it takes years for a case to close oftentimes. George Santos' term only runs till the end of 2024.
Stunning turn of events for a sitting congressman, but great to have you here on set. Scott MacFarlane, thanks for joining us.
Scott.